Welcome to Natasha's Creative Wellness. I'm Natasha and I do things a little bit differently. Do you have trouble asserting yourself and end up self-sacrificing your happiness or what you want in order to please or keep the peace with another person? Let me tell you why asserting your boundaries instead of pleasing or being the stronger person by tolerating will not only save yourself, but you will be taking preventative action and actually saving your relationship, attracting people who are more aligned to you, and weeding out others who don't have the same mindset, vantage point, or values in life. And if you have children, you're indirectly showing the example of how healthy it is to assert your self-worth and self-value by not yelling or being immature, but stating in a loving way that what the other person is doing, whatever that is in your case, has started to take a toll on you and that you don't like it. And it hurts. And it feels like you're not being respected in the partnership or friendship. This is healthy. By setting the example and stage for what and who you are as a person and who and how you would like to be treated by how you deliver or communicate this message will further say so much about you, as well as being able to recognize and discern who other people are actually about behind the money, style, or occupation. The inverse, or what is not being obviously presented to you, as that's going to tell you a little bit more of where that person is currently at in their life, and they don't have to be a bad person. By doing this, especially early on in the relationship, you will be able to start weeding out the types of dating partners who will actually respect you, who will actually show you that they care about you when you point out verbatim, literally, how an action or words makes you feel, as long as it's said in a respectable way. By doing this, especially early on in the relationship, by asserting your boundaries and seeing if the other person actually respects and honors your boundaries when the time comes, you will be able to start weeding out the types of dating partners who will actually respect you when you communicate something. Do they actually take action on that, or do they abuse it just to see if they can get their way? Who will actually show you that they care about you when you point out how an action or words makes you feel? Are they a strong enough person to act with vulnerability and not an overinflated, wounded ego, to have that self-respect and self-worth, to know that even if they get rejected, that they're good because they never needed you to fill that empty void in their heart. They know that they have to fill that for themselves. Because once they recognize that you cannot fill that void for them, and only they can, that honeymoon phase of rose-colored glasses will become very real as the true colors come out. No one is perfect, and you have to sometimes give the benefit of the doubt to others, or give them a chance to try and try again, to practice that change that is habitual to them. But if their actions are showing you that they don't care about what you are literally communicating to them, of what emotionally hurts you, and they keep disregarding that in order to only get what they want, run. They don't have to be a bad person, but they are not ready for a actual relationship, parenting, or a business partnership. You will eventually get run over to the ground, used and abused, fatigued, drained, and ultimately unhappy by self-sacrificing yourself. By recognizing this, you can avoid deeply or financially entangling yourself in something that is potentially devastating. You can hope and pray for them at a distance. That's my personal advice. You don't have to take it, my advice, or use it, But if it brings you more awareness, well, I hope it helps, or if you need to send this to someone else. If the other person is not willing to come to some kind of agreement that the both of you can decide and work upon as a team, then it might be a sign that the relationship will not last in the long run. Or one person is going to have to endure prolonged unhappiness or prolonged disrespect that can eventually cause resentment, distance, stress, depression, workaholicism, and thoughts that can potentially create all kinds of other self-defeating actions to escape the feeling of not being loved by the other. For example, addictions, drugs, infidelity, and alcohol, to numb their sadness because they cannot find the courage to stand up for what they deserve, which is to be happy and generally loved and respected in a partnership. If you are able to control your own emotions while delivering your message and not being afraid, and having that self-respect to communicate what hurts you in a relationship with the intention of making the other person more aware of how they are acting or what they are saying is hurting you, and it has happened daily or weekly consistently over time, and your feelings of hurt are not going away. It's like, it's not just a temporary thing. Or these situations are not a once in a blue moon situation where the other person just had a bad day. This is a toxic habit of one or both of you, actually, and it has kept going on like a circus. One or multiple persons might not be fully conscious to what it actually takes as a mini team of how a successful relationship works, or a business partnership, or running a team, for example. But it can't be one-sided, and one person shouldn't always be the carrier of baggage and mistreatment, or having to parent some other adult who was never fully nurtured as a child, and they never healed that childhood wound that might be playing out unconsciously. As an adult, it is your responsibility to become more aware and to heal these childhood wounds in order to find healthy connections. Your parents had wounds too, and they may have not had the tools or the technology to gain help and information from other people in order to resolve their own personal issues while they're just living their life and going through their own personal problems, financial problems, and trying to seek out love their own way. When we heal ourselves, we are more likely to find and help correct and keep each other accountable to create healthier relationships. But we can't necessarily do this by isolating ourselves on the phone and not truly getting to know someone else and only connecting to what's on the surface or what they present to us, like in a picture, or hiding behind money, occupation, title, education, degree, or it could be a number of different things. Everyone's life, in a nutshell, is to a degree a little bit effed up, okay? So if you're able to swallow your pride, grow some real balls, figuratively speaking, whatever sex, gender, or whatever you are, human, and you do your part to be a better person, then you will be happier and you can help other people be happy as long as they're willing to take that gentle criticism and give them time and space to recognize that this might be a thing for them. And if they still choose time and time again that they don't think anything is wrong with them, then you can't change them. You can only say, hey, you are just not for me, or not in this lifetime, and I'm out. I'm gonna go find the other 8 billion plus people of options in this world, because apparently you're not it. Now, people who take advantage of others in an unbalanced way, they don't necessarily have to be someone who is ill-willed or is completely bad. You know, some people are just trying to find security for, like, in whatever package that seems to feel secure for that person. They might just be oblivious to how they actually affect you. No one is a mind reader, and some people are just like not self-aware at times too. They have to be reminded and told, and not presented with an assumption that they just know how you feel because they're fine and no one told them anything, so they just kept doing whatever it is that they were doing, and you're just upset about it and bottling up your emotions like a big crazy, like, exploding volcano. And if you at least asserted your boundaries and stated that earlier on, you probably wouldn't have to live with so much time of just bottled up anger and frustration. You could have saved yourself quite a lot of time, stress, and maybe years of your life. Sometimes you have to know yourself enough to also discern what you will be willing to live with, as well as understanding that not everyone is capable or willing to change or to take things personally, and instead deflect and project their own insecurities back onto you, and as a result. But that's not your fault. Sometimes other people shouldn't change their natural way of being in order to make you happy either, as maybe you need to question if you're actually the toxic person, or if you both have a mixture of toxicity within both of you. That's why you attracted each other. At the end of the day, only you yourself can control filling your own cup of love, and no one else can do that for you. But it will help to know that this other person cares enough to either try and work on whatever issues that you have, to therefore work as a team for the sake of their relationship and to even better themselves. Because as a partnership, you want the other person to be better with the intention of you have goodwill and good intentions, and you're not trying to put the other person down. This is part of a loving, like, not a enabling. It's not an enabling relationship of your own toxic, self-defeating traits. It is someone who is going to tell you honestly some of the ugly sides of yourself that you don't recognize, because you're conditioned to live with yourself all the time, and if no one challenges you, then you will never grow and become a better version of yourself, which therefore will make you more happy, because you will feel more proud as you look back and you've changed and grown so much. If this person truly loves you and believes that you're so worth it and not worth risking to lose, they'll probably try to change, and hopefully you also try to change as well in order to help become each other's partner and encourager, cheerleader. If you are a total arrogant, one-sided, manipulative asshole or gold digger or user who thought this other human being would save you, stick around and tolerate your BS for all eternity as time heals, and it can keep coming back into your life over and over again, doing the same thing and expecting the same loving result, then this person may possibly be delusional, or maybe even a narcissist, because they do not accept accountability, and narcissists tend to be almost like a brick wall to communicate with, as they cannot tolerate anything that really hurts their very sensitive and fragile sense of self. Recognize any toxic traits of a true narcissist. The best thing to do is just let it go and leave. So if someone expects that they can keep coming around over and over again into your life and not change, and expect you to just tolerate their BS day in and day out, and you allow that, then you have just signed your life away to hell on earth. Every day of silent suffering and unhappiness. Basically the imagery and metaphor for hell on this earthly plane, as apparently it has arrived, and you both are your own worst enemy for not choosing to change or letting something go in order to save yourself. So assert yourself, be reasonable, go into relationships knowing that it's a two-way street, not a one-way street, and every relationship is unique to those individuals involved. They have to agree on their core values, futures, examples of what if this happens or that happens. Are you okay with this in the short term or that in the long term? Any unfortunate events that might play out, and how are you going to resolve those problems together? What are your deal breakers? What is their way of being, to their core, all the way from the tiny, seemingly insignificant things that you allow to let slide in the beginning few years, as well as the major life challenging topics like children, religion, money, sickness and health, responsibilities that you share, to just name a few. Your kids will hear and see these examples in the home environment on how to mimic problem solving in relationships. What does that look like, if it even exists in the home? As well as the care of emotions of the other when being vulnerable, and how this communication is delivered emotionally to the other, who they're supposed to care about each other. So what is the tone of voice? What are the vocabularies used? Or is the other person being put down so much to the point where it's hurtful? Is there a healthy balance of figuring this out without completely emotionally destroying the other person and the relationship or the family? Showing kids how parents fight and resolve conflict is important. How do you make up? Is that in a loving way, or do you ignore and brush it under the rug and just ignore each other? Does one or both of these parents, or whoever it is, seek revenge, threaten, or emotionally manipulate each other, coerce each other, or manipulate with money to keep the other under control, each other, or threaten with their children in order to get the other person to stay with you or stay stuck, or all kinds of stuff? Be aware and recognize the signs in the beginning, and to not be afraid to stand up for yourself. Try not to be a people pleaser, because you're strong and you can tolerate and see the sadness or the hurt of the other person, but you can't save other people. You can only save yourself. If you seek revenge, threaten, or emotionally manipulate or coerce the other with money to keep the other under control, your kids will pick up on that and will grow to normalize it and repeat it in their own relationships, creating this insanity of generational learned curse that could have been unlearned if it was brought into awareness earlier on. If not better, parents taking action as early as possible, especially before having kids, to not re-traumatize the next generation. If you're able to recognize these things in yourself and actually correct them. We uncontrollably learn things we think we know and have resolved, sometimes in think we have figured it out when actually we didn't quite make it all the way to the finish line and truly embodied this new version of ourselves. We just thought it, but that doesn't mean that we have become it. It's great to be aware, but remind yourself that knowing versus practiced habits consistently over time to catch yourself in the moment when the time of unwanted action actually happens out of conditioned programming, and from there on you're able to correct it in the moment from your higher sense of self-awareness. This can help you change the repeated course of generational learned programming and that illusion, creating perpetual self-defeat as you go about life growing up, only to see that you've somehow become one or both of your parents, even if you tried to avoid it. So assert yourself with self-respect, with respect of the other as well. You ultimately teach people how to treat you. I hope you enjoyed this video, or it's helped you in any way, seeking advice that maybe you don't get from your own parents or from anyone in your bubble or environment. So please like, share, subscribe, send to a friend who is in not so great relationships over and over again. And stay tuned for random knowingness or things that I can teach you if you subscribe to my channel. Yeah, that's it. And goodbye. See you next time.